back to my studio, and today for our Christmas tutorial it's going to be snowball or bauble mittens, fingerless mittens, and we are going to be using this gorgeous yarn called Himalaya or Himalaya, depending how you want to say it, Mona. And it is a beautiful yarn. I've had all the colors. It works up gorgeous, and we're going to actually do two projects with this. The first one will be you might have already seen it, which is the cow, and then this is the matching mittens. So I got this from Hobium, and it is very hard to get again because it sells out so fast. So I have just tried to get some more, but I'm going to have to wait because they didn't have any in stock. But keep trying. It is a beautiful yarn. This yarn is 15% wool and 85% acrylic. It is super soft and really love working with it. It's really nice. The lot color for this one is, well, there you go, 22102. They never give a name, but look, get the whole range, lots of colors, very pretty. What are the tools we will be using for this? Well, we're going to be using our 5.5mm hook. This is from Furls. And we will have our scissors, yarn needle, and a stitch marker. Okay, let's get this project started. When you have found the end of your yarn, do a slip knot, but make sure you leave a tiny tail because we'll be working that in later and less yarn to deal with. I will show you that when we get to it. Put your slip knot on your hook, your 5.5mm hook, and chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are going to be working a single crochet in the front of each loop. You are going to be missing that first stitch and going into the next stitch. So hook straight in, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through the two loops on your hook. Go to the next stitch, yarn straight in, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through the loops on the hook. Next stitch, next stitch, next stitch, and the final 6th stitch. So you should have 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chain 1, turn your work, and missing that chain, going into the first stitch. So we are just going straight into that stitch, making sure you're going to the back. Grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2 loops on the hook. So we're doing the single crochets towards the back of that stitch. So you're going into the middle of the stitch, towards the back, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2 loops on the hook. And you repeat for the 6 stitches all the way along. You chain 1, turn your work, and repeat. And this will create a rib stitch. So you're having that rib effect. And you will need to repeat this 20 times. Now, if you have a bigger wrist than me, then do more rows. And you just keep doing rows until you can wrap it around your wrist nice and comfortably. Now, I do have tiny wrists and tiny hands, so this is for a small that I'm making this. You want to go bigger, just keep working until it wraps comfortably around your wrist. There are no sizes in this pattern. It is just literally working on what fits you, and you'll see what I mean as we go through. So for me, 20 rows fit around my wrist. So remember, at the end of each row, chain 1, turn your work, miss that chain and go into that next stitch there, and then make sure you have 6. Now I always count the 6 as I go along because it is quite easy to just, well, basically miss one. Okay, I am going to leave you to finish those 20 rows, or the amount of rows that it takes for you to fit this comfortably around your wrist. Now that you have the amount of rows that you require, so for me it was 20, wrap it around your wrist and just make sure that it actually fits fine. So around like so. You want it tight, but not so tight you won't be able to get your hand in and out. And once you're happy with that, then what we're going to be doing is joining this together. Now a note here is whatever you have done here, if it's different to this pattern, as in more rows or less rows, make sure to write it down because you want your other mitten to match. So we are going to be joining these together. So I go up to the very, very tippy top and join it together with a slip stitch. Then you go to the next row and the next stitch, and then pull your yarn all the way through. Go into the next stitch and the next stitch on the other side, grab your yarn and pull your yarn through all those loops on your hook. Next stitch on the other side, grab a yarn and pull it through, and keep repeating this for all the stitches. All the way along. There we go. And at this point you want to turn it inside out. And then what we are going to be doing for this next row, on the top of every row of stitches you have there, so see you've got a row there and row there and row there, we're putting a stitch on the top. Now we're going to change this now to a half double crochet. So yarn over, straight into that top of that row, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab a yarn and pull through all the 3 loops on the hook. Now we're wanting to work over this tail so we don't have to sew it in later, hence why the small tail, so you don't have as much to worry about. Yarn over, go into the top of the next row, grab a yarn, pull it through, grab a yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And I'm laying that tail up there so that I can work over it and I don't have to sew it in later. And you're just doing a stitch. I've lost my tail. Where did that go? Did I do it already? There we go. Now just put your stitch on the top of every row. And when you've done that, I'll meet you back at the beginning of this row. We're back at the beginning of the row and you can see that's where we started there, and you should have 20 stitches. Now what we need to do is to slip stitch that together. So slip stitch at the first stitch of the row, grab a yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Chain 1, and what you're doing is you're turning your work, and then you're going to do a single crochet in the top of the first stitch. So put your hook into the first stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through, grab a yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Into the next stitch, yarn over, go into that stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through. Yarn over again, go into that same stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through. Yarn over for the 3rd time, go into that stitch, grab a yarn, pull it through, and grab a yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. Next stitch is a single crochet. So what we've done there is created our first of our snowballs or baubles, and we're going to do this for the whole row. So the next stitch, yarn over, go into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. Now make sure to pull it up so it makes it easier to get your hook through all those loops. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. Yarn over into that same stitch for the third time, grab your yarn, pull it through, making sure to pull it up a little bit, grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. Next stitch is a single crochet. So your bubble stitch will always have a single crochet on either side of it. So going into your bubble stitch again, you're going 1, 2, 3, and through all the loops. Single crochet, bubble, 1, 2, 3, single crochet. All right, I'm going to leave you to finish that row and I'll meet you back at the beginning. I'm back at the beginning of the row. However, it looks like I finished on a single crochet, but I need to finish on a bauble stitch. So I'm going to put my snowball or bauble into that next stitch there. So 1, 2, 3, and then through all the loops, and then at the beginning of this row, you can see the beginnings there. I'm going to put my slip stitch them together to join the row together. Chain 1, turn your work, and you can see your first row of bubbles or baubles, snowballs. Now this next row is going to be a half double crochet row. So yarn over, straight into that first stitch, pull your yarn through, and then through all the loops on the hook. So do your half double crochets all the way around this row, and I will meet you back at the beginning of the round. We're at the beginning of the round, and when you've come to your last stitch here and you meet your first stitch here, where once again we're just slip stitching them together. Chain 1, turn your work. So this next row is going to be another bauble, snowball row. So the first stitch is your single crochet. The next stitch is your bauble stitch. Your baubles, 2, 3, happens to the best of us. 1, 2, 3. Next stitch is a single crochet, and the next stitch is a bauble. 3, and the next stitch is single crochet. Now this is when I turn it around and I make sure that there's, look, it doesn't matter whether they line up or they go in between, but whatever it is that you want, make sure it stays even all the way around. Now I also will count the bottom row to see how many bubbles I've got. Baubles I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted 11, and you will notice that when you count the stitches, it'll now have gone up the amount of stitches that you have. And that is absolutely fine. That's what you want, because you want it to come out slightly. So it should be 23 stitches if you're following along with me, or basically 3 extra stitches no matter what you're doing. So I'm going to continue doing this round, and I will leave you and meet you back here when you have finished the round. We are back at the beginning of the round, and once again there's a single crochet, and I need to finish off with my bubble, my snowball or bauble. 1, 2, 3, and then doing your slip stitch and chaining 1. Turn your work. Now at this point I will count my baubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, because I want to make sure I have the same amount as the row underneath. So whatever you had on your first row, make sure your second row has the same amount of stitches. Okay, so we have finished the snowballs for now, and we will be half double crocheting for the next 14 rows. And this now is going to be just half double crochet in the round, continuously in the round. We're not stepping up, we're not turning our work. So doing your first stitch, straight into that stitch there. So yarn over, go straight into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. Keep doing your half double crochets all around, and I will show you how we continue on at the end of this round. Okay, so when you've come to the start of your row, just yarn over and straight into that beginning stitch. Grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through all 3 loops on the hook, and just keep going. Now at this point I do get my stitch marker and I go back to that first stitch there of the round, put my stitch marker there so I know where my first row was, and then I do my 14 rows. Now for you, as I said, you might have a different size hand than me. I do have a very small hand, and therefore what I would suggest is that you keep putting this on. Now this is meant to be a long cuff. So the cuff on this comes down here, and it is meant to be long. Now if you want a short cuff, start to there and work your way up until you get to, you want to get to your thumb. So you want to work along here. So you want to, wherever you want to start it. So I'm going from here up to here, but you might want to go from here to here. Now the reason why I'm doing it long is because it has been recommended to me to make long ones, because to keep here warm is actually beneficial and keeps you much warmer than if you have a shorter mitten. So that's why I'm doing a long one. So whatever rows, once again, remember whatever rows you end up doing, write it down so your next mitten is exactly the same. But for me, and if you're following along with me, it is 14 rows of half double crochet, and I will meet you back here after you have completed your 14 rows. We've done our 14 rows, and at this point what we need to do is create the opening for our thumb and our hand, our palm. So whatever you choose to do for one mitten, you have to do the opposite for the other mitten. Now for me, I am doing a thumb opening of 7. So I have completed one mitten already, and for this mitten I'm going to do the opposite thumb hole. So for the last mitten I counted this way 7. Now this time I'm going to count this way my 7. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and bring it together like so. So that is just double checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then I'm going to bring my stitch marker up. There's my 7, and I'm going to go into the 8th one and come across to the stitch that is before this stitch here, and come across like so. Okay, so this is my thumb hole and this is my palm. So to check it out, I always put it on, and you can see how the wrist is going down. That's the where my start of my hand is, and there's my wrist, so it goes quite a way down. And there's my thumb, it's quite comfortable in there, and my hand's in there. So because of whatever you made it here should come up your hand. Now if you're finding that your hand is quite wide up here compared to down here, you will need to increase your stitches along here so that's wider to go up. And that's the way to fix if you've got a wider hand up here. Just increase your stitches when you start getting to, so you don't have to do it down here unless you've got a wider hand from the top of your wrist. But you could increase it up here if your hand goes wider up here. My hand, if you see, it's quite comfortable to make it, because it's, as you can see, it's quite narrow there. But I know that some people have a wider hand, so you can increase stitches as you go up to make it wider if that's what you need. But if you're following along with me, so you've got your 7 stitch thumb hole here, and your remainder stitches are over here. Just adjust your thumb hole to whatever works best for you here. The reason why I go the opposite way is because you want to make sure that where your join is, which is right here down the bottom, is always on the inside, so that people can't see it. I mean, it should be neat enough that people won't actually notice where it is, but just as you know, just to be safe. So this one will be for this hand because that's where that join is in there, and the other one is for the other hand because the join is here. Okay, so once you've done that, what you need to now do is you're going to be working. So that's where the stitch marker is. So we want to go through those two there and grab your yarn and pull it through. Sorry, start again. We are joining it, so we just want to do a slip stitch like so to join it. Then we're going to be working our stitches as normal with a half double crochet. As we worked our way around, we've come back to the stitch marker, and you just keep going. So you go straight into that stitch above the stitch marker and just keep doing your half double crochets. And keep working your way around. Now you want to do a total of 5 rows. So this is now row number 2 of the palm, or the fingers right at that top there. And you want to do 3 more rows, and I will meet you back here after you've finished your 5 rows. Alright, we've done our 5 rows, so I'm back at the stitch marker, and my next row is going to be our snowball row. So just slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and the first stitch is going to be your single crochet. Your next stitch is going to be your snowball, 1, 2, 3. Next stitch, single crochet. Next stitch, snowball, 1, 2, 3. Next stitch, single crochet. So continue doing that all the way around until you come back to the beginning. Okay, nearly at the end. Just got one more bauble to do, and then slip stitch it together, chain 1, turn my work, and now the last row of this will be a half double crochet. So I'm just going to half double crochet all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of the row. Go back at the end of the row, and now we're finished, so let's just slip stitch that row together. Snip off a long lead just so you can tie it in and tidy up everything. Bring that through, and that is your finger part done. So as you can see, I've made the finger part come up just over my pinky there, just to my pinky. There we go. Now we need to do the thumb. So grab the end of your yarn again and start off. Once again, do a short tail so that you can just work over it. And we are doing 2 rows of half double crochet all the way around our thumb. Now, a reminder, whatever you are doing on this mitten, make sure, oh, I missed a bit, make sure that you do the same amount on your other mitten. So there are 9 baubles around the top here, and I want to make sure I have 9 baubles on my other mitten so they match. So this is going to be the same for down here. You need to make sure that whatever you did down here needs to be the same for your next mitten. So stitch marker, you're in the way. Go away. So we only need to do 2 rows of half double crochet here. So this is row number, and you need to make sure you get all the loops. Okay, so this is row number 1. Sorry, I'm just struggling getting it in. There we go. And remember, you're just going straight into that stitch at the beginning of the row to do row number 2. Now that we have finished row number 2, we need to do our bauble stitch row. So just slip stitch that next stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and then you're doing your single crochet first, followed by your bauble stitch, 1, 2, 3. It gets a bit fiddly, but you'll get there. Single crochet, bauble. I'll meet you when you've finished your bauble row. Okay, last bauble, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and this is the last row of half double crochet. So it does look tight and awkward, and it can be fiddly, especially if you've got a tiny thumb you have to do. So half double crochet all the way around, and I will meet you at the end of this row. At the end of that row, so let's just slip stitch that together. Cut off the end of your yarn, pull that through, and that's our crocheting done. Let's sew those ends in. So I turn it inside out. And find the end. Get your needle. And just sew down. Now this is an opportunity that if you've left like big holes, so you might have left, see, it looks a little bit bigger there and there. This is why you leave a long end, because you can just do a little nifty and sew that in there, and then come back down and sew that in there. And because it's on the inside, nobody's going to know that you tidied it up a little bit. And this one, snip that off, turn this back the right way, and there is your mitten done. Little end there from when we were sewing that one in, and That is one with a nice long wrist, and here is number 2. Now you might notice they are different colors, and if because of the ball and how it runs with the line there, that's what happens depending on what colors you're using. So if you like to have different, and they are from the same ball but they're different, then do like that, like I've shown you. However, if you want it to be pink and pink or grey and grey, you're going to have to chop up your ball if you're going to use a variegated ball like this that has stripes, and you'll need to just work it out and chop up your yarn. Now I absolutely hate doing that. Not only is it a lot of work, you've got to make sure you've got the right amount of yarn, and yeah, so I actually quite like the different patterns. If you don't like to have the different colors, then I would suggest don't use this yarn. Find something else that's one color and you can do it like that. But this is so soft and so cozy. Love the feel, and I love the texture of the bubbles, all the baubles, the snowballs. It's just lovely. Anyway, everybody, I hope you have enjoyed these mittens. I have many more Christmas tutorials, a couple more coming up, and if you haven't already seen the past ones, have a look. Links are down below. Take care, everybody. I hope to see you again at my next Christmas tutorial. I hope to see you again at another tutorial. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And please share. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you sometime soon back at the studio.